Yeah. So thank you very much to the audience for being here in this very last panel, and also thank you for all the colleagues which are in the panel. As we are a little bit out of time, I would like to start with the first question regarding how do you see the global supply chain scenario in this year. Now, in the past, has been leading by Asiatic or Asian companies, but now which is the perspective? Ben.
Hi, thank you very much for this opportunity. And as Enrique told, how we see the supply chain going on now. So this year, it has been quite a decent year as compared to, if you compare it with the last year when we see a lot of logistic bottlenecks and supply chain bottlenecks, especially after the pandemic, then adding up the Ukraine war and the Euro fall. So we had seen quite a lot bad times in terms of entire logistics, supply chain, containers piling up at the ports, huge lead times. So in compared to 2022, this year is quite good, except the high voltage equipment industry, because all the countries are now gearing up towards the 2030 goal of becoming at least 40% net zero and achieving 100% net zero by 2050. So the key is to strengthen the grid, and that's why all the high voltage equipment manufacturers, power transformer manufacturers, those are the ones you have to be quite anticipating the supply chains of the high voltage equipments, because this can turn into a great bottleneck in near future, no? Because the capacities are all booked up and there is huge demand in the market. So on the PV part, the supply chain is quite smooth, but on the interconnection part, it is a challenge. In order to achieve the resilient supply chain, you have to plan your activities well in advance in order to achieve the project timelines. Otherwise, it's next to impossible.
Thank you very much for this global overview. And Manuel, in particular in Spain, it is more or less the same scenario, or is a little bit different?
Well, in Spain we have particular conditions. We have this Royal Decree where we have in the end a deadline to finish our project. So it's the EPC contractor may be it's a bottleneck for us. No, we are in the procurement side, so we need to secure the EPC contractor in terms of delivery and also in terms of quality, because it's very important. I mean, we know that it is, well, we know it's around 50, 60 gigawatt to build in the coming months altogether. And I mean, I have a question for the audience, a lot of developers, investors. Do you have the EPC contractor already secure for your project in the midterm? Probably yes. Are you telling them the truth according to the ready-to-build dates? You don't know, to be honest. We don't know. We are trying to secure it, but it's also true that it's difficult because the large EPC contractors have limited capacity. They are securing portfolios with big investors, big developers, and these investor developers, or we, have more importance each time, and we want to purchase modules, power transformer, inverters, because we want to secure our deadlines. So first point is so important to extend the deadline by the regulation, by the administration, and we hope to have it, not to finish our works in 2025. So in addition, the EPC contractor that I was working in an EPC contractor 4 years ago, and we always offer everything from the client. I mean, we support the risk, low margins, and always trying to look for projects. Now, maybe they are in their in a better position to negotiate these projects, but they are also suffering because there is another level that is the subcontractors, high-quality companies that are in charge of the civil, mechanical, and electrical works, and it's important the manpower here. We are going to suffer problems because we don't have enough resources in Spain. So it's not only the EPC contractor, it's also the second level that is the subcontractors. And even more, machinery. We are going to face a lack of machinery in our projects. So some EPC contractors are already renting, purchasing this equipment to avoid any problem and to expedite the projects. And not to talk more than expected, sorry. We need to put the focus on quality and sustainability. And when you have the large EPC contractor already secure or overcapacity, you are going to look for other ones that maybe they are not experienced or they are looking for different ways to build your project. So take care and put your effort in the construction side to deliver on time and with the proper quality.
Thank you. And Javier, if we focus on the manufacturers in terms of geographies, how do you see the recent initiatives in Europe and USA for developing their own capabilities versus the Asiatic manufacturers?
Yes, thank you very much for this very interesting question. So I think it's not a secret that today our industry is extremely dependent from China and Southeast Asia. We're talking about 80 to 90% of the production coming from those countries, depending on which segment you move. And this has been very efficient from a cost reduction perspective in the last 10 years. The production base moved from Germany mostly to China, scale of economy, R&D, demand increasing, etc. But it has also come with some pains that we suffered all in the last 2-3 years, which we saw it's not so efficient to have all your production so far away and really not under your control. So what is happening now is we want to implement a certain level of renewable energies to be deployed in the European Union. And that means that we are looking at a market of 30 to 40 gigawatt a year, roughly, to be installed. The production capacity in Europe for modules, for example, is around 9 to 10 gigawatt. But that's modules. If you go to polysilicon, ingots, wafer, it is 1 gigawatt, 2 gigawatt, depends on which segment you look at. How can you overcome this big challenge? Because there is simply no capacity today in Europe to manufacture. The United States has shown us by having protective measures such as anti-dumping, anti-circumvention measures that is still ongoing since around 8 years approximately, plus request of traceability, Uyghur Forced Labor Protection Act. That's defensive measures, but they also have been bringing incentives for the return of the investment, which is basically the Inflation Reduction Act. Mm-hmm. So the European Union did implement protective measures around 10 years ago. It's called MIP, Minimum Input Price, for around 3 years. And what happened is the deployment of PV dramatically dropped because it was not cost efficient. If we want to go down that way, I have a big question mark if it will work. I think we need to find a way to make it attractive for manufacturers to get a return of investment. We are seeing initiatives today already. You have companies setting up factories in southern Italy, in Germany, in France. The big challenge is, one, how vertically integrated they are, because modular assembly is one thing, but where do we get the polysilicon, the glass, the wafers, etc., etc. And the second one is the technology to be used. If you go to the market today and want to buy from a European manufacturer, and we have done this exercise very recently in my company, either they don't have the capacity in volume, the technology might not be so advanced, or the power class that they use is not the one that we use in the utility scale. So for example, modules of 400 watt peak, they are more for residential, for CNI eventually. But for utility scale projects, if we look at 550, 600, 750 watt peak modules, it's not there. So, and it's not something that will be done in 6 months or a year. So we need, as a European Union, really to understand what can we do to bring this manufacturing base in a full supply chain scale and with the necessary volume back. And I think we need really the commitment of, one, the political segment to find the measures, be it subsidies, tariffs, combination of incentives and protective measures, but also as off-takers, I think all our companies need to understand, are we willing to pay a little bit more for made in Europe? because the energy price to produce is not going to be the same, the labor cost is not going to be the same, so there's a commitment from upstream but also downstream. So I think there are initiatives, we are not there yet, and it's a big challenge that we will face in the next 2, 3, 4 years to really define and execute this, bringing back the industry to Europe.
Interesting. And also linked to your answer, how do you see the impact of the raw materials in the competitiveness of these manufacturers?
Yeah, as my colleague rightly said, that raw materials play a key role in deciding the values of supply chain. And as of now, especially in PV, 80% of the supply chain is based out from Asia, or especially in Asia, especially from China. Why? Because we have cheaper raw material out there. The cost of production of panel, for example, is in China is 10% less as compared to in India, or 20% less as compared to in the United States, and 35% less as compared to in Europe. So, and not only panel, you see the price of all the HV equipments, all the metals, cables, trackers, everything. No? So where you have large economies of scale in terms of raw material, that is Asian countries, you have a quite better supply chain, you have better prices, better terms and conditions. So the supply chain is focused. The key is where you'll find the cheaper raw material. No, in Europe we should build a parallel supply chain in order to reduce our energy dependency on Asia. And the key to build a resilient supply chain in Europe is to see the incentives for production, to give maybe tax rebates, and then maybe some quota or something to help the investors to see it is attractive manufacturing in Europe, no, in order to build a resilient supply chain in Europe. Otherwise, our entire dependency at this time is from Asia. Even the Spanish suppliers, we are a Spanish tracker supplier, but nothing comes from Spain, everything comes from China or India. So the key here, as you rightly said, where you'll find the cheaper raw material, from there the material will come.
Thank you. Another hot topic, Agatha, is the overstock that we have in Europe in terms of PV components, especially when the market prices in some of them are getting lower than the components which are already under stock. So which is your point of view, the challenges or the strategies that, or the future trends that is going to happen regarding this topic?
Thank you for this question. I am very happy to answer this specific one because at Sunstor I see the story on both sides, on the buyer side, but also on the seller side as we build the marketplace. So as usual in that kind of situation, when one side is happy and the other one is not so much. So at the moment we see that the buyers are mostly happy with the situation, and the sellers, so mostly European distributors and wholesalers, are in a worse situation. I will divide the answer into 4 parts. First, key facts, then a bit of the reasons, challenges and opportunities, and then finally the takeaways or strategies. So on the key facts, the prices went down significantly this year, especially on the modules. It went down by 25%. So for most it is a huge change and devaluation of the assets they hold. At the same time, the production capacity is predicted to be almost 3 times higher than the demand. So I think, looking into the future, I think that this situation will stay with us for a while due to that reason that the capacity is simply huge. And the reasons why are are multiple, but I'll mention three. The first is definitely this very positive demand effect of 21-22, which somehow created a bullish effect on the supply end and on the production end. So forecasts were very ambitious, and simply the demand didn't catch up. And the second reason for overstock will be actually this demand downside, especially in the residential segment. So that's the second reason. And third would be the very big investment fueling the production capacity increase, especially in China. There is a lot of money and a lot of governmental support going there, so the capacity increases, even though the demand, especially in Europe, is not catching up on this. And then the third part, so challenges and opportunities. On the opportunities side, I think everyone knows it, and Ved already mentioned, and I think that all the panelists here are actually happy with this situation, because for most of the procurement and companies, it's easier to procure. It's faster. The products are available in most of the segments, not all, but in most of them, it's simply easier. And the prices are also making the solar more affordable, and this is good for all of us. But there are also challenges. One will be connected to what was mentioned before, so European production. It's very difficult to compete with the prices of the products coming from abroad, the import products. There are companies who already went bankrupt. There are companies who probably are going to. So without support from governments, from the ruling people, it's going to be difficult to compete. The second challenge is coming with is actually going to the distributors and wholesalers who are going to already did or are going to devaluate their stocks, and also the companies are going to be in problems or they already went through problems. And the third, maybe not so clear, is also it might also come with the quality of the products, especially when there is a big pressure on the price, there is always a question on the quality. And for when we talk about the last point about the future, I think that, and the strategies for the future, I think that on the governmental level or the let's say ruling bodies level, there might be the good strategy would be to work on the demand. Probably the only structural way of solving this would be to work on the demand, but also working, if we want to keep some production in Europe, to work on the help to these companies. And on the level of suppliers or sellers, simply to take care of the quality and to take care of the clients, because I think that with this, this strategy is always good, and the best will survive. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Rocío, another angle of this panel is related with the EGS policies. And how do you see the impact of these policies in the supply chain?
Thank you for the question, Enrique, and thanks everyone for staying until the last panel. ESG, as is was mentioned this morning during a few panels, is a hot topic in the industry and globally, of course. And if you want to have a sustainable company, you have to be sustainable from every stage of the project. And one of the first stages to make a project real is the procurement. So you have to pre-qualify, or let's go to my case. In my case, I work for a Norwegian company. We are backed up by Nordic funds. So probably in Spain, not all the companies are yet there, but in the Nordic countries is quite important, the sustainability, and every company has sustainable policies and they go as green as possible. let's say, and same in the social and governance aspect. So how we integrate these ESG policies in our procurement processes is through the pre-qualification of our contractors and suppliers. So let's say there is a red flag. If you don't have a minimum requirement, you cannot work with us. Then, if you pass this filter, let's say, we go to the next steps, and in our contract, we put a specific ESG clauses. So, contractually, they have to meet some requirements. They have to follow the construction or the production of the product with some indicators, and we are going to follow up. And they have to present these indicators to us, saying as it has been done in the health and safety for years in Spain and also globally. And then, for example, for the modules, we all know about the issues with the forced labor in some regions in China. And that is something that worry a lot to our lenders or investors. So we do this supply chain audit, and we visit the factories to really see that what they are saying is true, because you usually have a statement for a stewardship policy from the module supplier. But one step forward is to actually do this audit with a third-party company. And with that information, it's like you cannot go up to the end of the supply chain, but you go as far as you can. And that gives comfort to the investors and to the different stakeholders of the project. And that is the little bit we can do on the procurement, and then follow up on construction and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that we are arriving to the end of our time, but let me ask Manuel one more question regarding the sourcing, focusing in the battery storage. How do you see?
Okay, thank you, Enrique. The experience in storage is limited, to be honest. We have some projects in Germany and Belgium, not in Spain. We are thinking to have some pilot in Portugal, Spain, Greece, that is maybe a bit mature than the rest of the countries, but by the moment it's still just to have some key points from my perspective. Then, regarding raw material, we think, or we see that this is a lack of, or a scarcity in the earth rares or lithium. It's something that, it's a fact that it's difficult to obtain. And this is something that we are afraid to, so we are very close to the manufacturers. By the moment, as during the construction stage, there is a lack of link or who to secure the warranty of the total equipment, we are going directly to the integrators. But we don't forget about the manufacturers, because we think that in the end, or in the medium term, we are going to go, or we will go directly to the manufacturers. I think that it's a very high capital, intensive capital business. So in the short, medium term, we will see that just some companies that currently are manufacturing these batteries, they will be in the market. So I think that we will look, or we will find a solution to go directly from the source, from us, to the manufacturers. But by the moment, in Aquila, we are going directly to the integrator, paying this markup to secure the warranty and the good assembly of the asset. I don't know if someone else in the panel want to add something about the storage.
Yeah, I mean, you rightly said, Manuel, that it's a matter of time. In short term, I see that this is going to be stable, but in the long term, as BESS and revamping the grid structure is the only way to secure our goals towards net zero. So in the long term, the economies of scale will come into the picture, and we will see in coming 5 to 6 years, that's what we have seen happening with modules. We probably may see the same happening with the BESS, and especially with lithium, which is 67%, 65% of in value of the entire batch system. So, and we hope that we see in the same way in order to achieve our goals, because otherwise it would be next to impossible.
Okay, thank you. So for closing the panel, I would like each of you to answer the very last question, which basically we have described more or less the current situation of the supply chain, but how do you see the supply chains in 18, 24 months in terms of risk, trends, prices, etc.? Javier.
Thank you. So I think in the very short term, we need to understand that, yes, as you very well pointed out, for buyers is a very nice situation to be right now, but also this sharp cost reductions don't usually come for free. So when companies reduce their margin, they may also be cutting some corners in quality, bill of material, commitment. So I would recommend to be a little bit cautious. And also some companies, not the big ones, but the medium or smaller ones, which are also aggressive in the price, are all of them going to survive this wave of price war? So I would be just a little bit cautious. When we look a bit more into the medium long term, I think we're going to be driven very hugely by ESG demand, as you were saying. So lenders and shareholders are putting more and more focus on this, traceability, ESG, and also regulatory. And we are saying corporate supply chain due diligence initiative, forced labor, ban of forced labor in the European Union initiative, a Net Zero Industry Act. So I think we need to understand what is going to be required from a regulation perspective from us and be able to, one, adapt the internal organization, but also find the way that our suppliers are compliant with that. So I think we are in a very good situation, short term, and also the perspective is very good, but it's more technically complex and sophisticated. So we need to keep working, keep learning, and keep adapting.
Thank you. Yes, Agatha.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I also think that coming months are going to be difficult for some of the companies, but for the ones who are going to survive with this situation, they're only going to be stronger. And in general, the outlook is positive, even though we tend to bring here a couple of difficult situations. The demand is growing. All the outlooks are actually growing. I would just probably hope to see the capacity and the demand being a bit closer. These two lines, if they are just a bit closer, it's going to be good for everyone.
I would say adaptability. I mean, it's now seems that everything is calm, but we are in procurement and we know the market it is. So keep calm and just to adapt to the market and to be volatile, because it's the only way to adapt to the current situation in the market. I mean, we are, all of us, in this market for a while, and we are suffering different situation. And I guess that the only way is to adapt to the change.
We have a solar coaster.
Yeah, solar coaster. Say that.
In my opinion, we are in a very sweet moment for procurement, and most of our teammates are very happy with the work we are doing at this moment. But 1 year ago, they were asking us for lower prices, and it was difficult. And 2 years ago was even more challenging. 3 years ago, looked like everything was stable, and we know what is going to happen in many years, but not. So we don't have the crystal ball, as we always say. And let's see, I think we are in the valley of talking about module cost. The situation is going, I don't know, I don't have the crystal ball, but I think it's going to go up a little bit. And also the EPC availability is going to hit us quite hard. So we have to be prepared for that, and because EPC costs are going to go up for sure in the coming years because of the high demand. So let's work hard. We don't have anything more to do.
I will also join in the same league, but as the head of procurement of a EPC company, I agree that we are in a good phase now. Everything is comparatively at a better price. We have abundant supply, but as you know, all good things comes with a risk. Because as IPC, finally, we are the ones who are guaranteeing the deliveries, the performance ratio and everything to the investors or to the final clients. So the key thing, yeah, obviously we are procuring better, we are saving in terms of procurement cost, but the key is we have to be very, very, very active in terms of activating the supplies and in terms of periodical inspections. Otherwise, we have seen and we are facing this as a real challenge in all our ongoing projects. If you just sleep after placing the order and if you are not keeping a vigilant eye on your suppliers, the product, any other buyer will fetch your production slot or your supply chain, and at the end of the day you are without the supplies. So you need to be with monthly meetings, weekly meetings, monthly inspections directly at the sources to see whether everything is going as per the books or not. This is very important nowadays.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much to all of you, and also thank you very much for the audience. And with this, we have finished our panel. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.